Good afternoon and welcome to today's 1245 here at Lord of Life Lutheran Church. It is Friday, the Friday before the 4th of July weekend, and I'm glad that we can get together and talk a little bit about God's Word. I always use these Fridays to speak a little bit about what's been going on at Lord of Life and talk about this coming week as well. I'm here in my father's workshop. This is a place where he has spent many hours loving up the various members of family and his friends community, making little projects that I see. Here is one I pulled off of the table. I'm not sure exactly what is planned for that. But also he's got, this is a puzzle that he has made many copies of. I think this is the yellow one here is his, the model that he uses in order to make all the other ones. Usually there's not paint on the they're just natural wood colored when he gives them away. But many hours have been spent here in this place, and it's one of the ways in which he expresses his love for us as a family and for his friends. We are in the 10th chapter of the book of 2 Corinthians right now, and boy, I could talk for a long time about this passage. Starts with verse 8, where Paul talks about how he boasts in his authority, but he does so not for his own sake, but really because he wants to build up the community. And so his focus on the authority that God has granted him is not for himself, but it's really for them to understand that what he is saying is something that is God ordained. And then he also talks about some boundary violations that he sees his rivals engaging in, and calls them out essentially on those boundary violations. That, of course, is always an issue in community, is where is authority and who exercises authority and how do they exercise that authority. And that's always a challenging question. And, of course, the important thing is that that's done to build up the community. And, of course, boundaries, too, are a very important thing that we have to pay attention to in community life as well, that we don't cross over into unhelpful places, but we kind of stay within the sphere that God has ordained us. And a lot of times we want to fix things that are over there, when in fact God hasn't called us to do that. And so Paul talks in this section about the limits that God has placed, and how he is keeping within his assigned limits and calls others to do the same. And then finally, I think that one of the better passages for us to reflect on is how let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. For it is not those who commend themselves that are approved, but it is those whom the Lord commends. It's the Lord that is the one who is called on to judge us, to commend us for that which is good and right and proper, not for ourselves. As I sit here, I think about these things. My father doesn't go around and say, look what a great woodworker I am. He doesn't boast about that. He just goes about his work, and I could boast on him as a son, for sure. But for him, it is just important for him to do his work. And for this time in his life, when he has the means to do this, he continues in his work, and kind of stays within his workshop, I guess you could say. Doesn't try to go out to others and tell them how to do the work in their workshops, and you can bet that there are lots and lots of folks around, for sure. So anyway, that's my reflections on this little passage in 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. Do want to, before I go, just share a little bit about Lord of Life and what's going on here. Regretfully, and I've said this already, but I just want to say again, regretfully we had to say farewell to our beloved Colleen on the staff. She took a job that has benefits and is something that's a little more sustainable for her life. I think she did so with some personal regret in terms of missing the people in the community at Lord of Life. And I do hope that you will send in a card of appreciation either to the church or to Colleen's house directly, if you could, just to express your appreciation for the many years that she did give us. She was a great gift to our congregation, and she is going to be sorely missed. I do want to say too that we're going to be entering into a different time as a staff as we seek to reevaluate that position, and especially in light of the resignation of our children's ed person, Susan Rio, also regretfully is not going to be doing the children's ed position anymore. And there is definitely a big new need in our congregation for someone to handle the video ministry that has grown up in these COVID times. And so we're going to need something different than what we had before, and we're in the process of exploring what that is, and we will be for sure advertising for a position in the future, but what that position looks like, we're less certain about. I can tell you that there's a good consensus among the leadership so far that it needs to be much of what Colleen did in the past, video or making sure that the sound booth is staffed with 2 people, and that probably is going to need to be that person. And then we will also need to figure out how to sustain the children's ministry work that happens in the congregation. And how that all comes together and who's in what position is still very much an open question for us. But these are things that we're going to seek to find. And I guess looking back at this 2 Corinthians text, right now, positions on staff kind of have little boundaries around them. I'm thinking about what Paul had to say about boundaries here in this text. And all I can tell you is that we want to make sure that children's ed, the technical video stuff, and the work in front, volunteer coordination, communication, those kind of things are all encompassed in someone's boundary on staff, but we're not exactly sure how that's going to look right now. So we are definitely going to need to make some decisions moving forward soon, and then we'll be advertising for those. Trying to think if there's anything else. Well, I guess looking ahead to our Sunday, I just want to clue you in that we ran into a little bit of technical difficulty with the sound on our video this weekend. We're aware of it. So please know that we are on it. With our new equipment, it's just, I think, maybe going to take us a little bit to figure out what we need to figure out to make it work well. So anyway, again, I hope you have a great 4th of July. God bless you wherever you are. Take care.